Well, I don't know if you guys just caught the announcement, but the Duskbloods was revealed. This is a new FromSoftware title that's in development, and it was revealed at Nintendo Switch 2 Direct of all places. And this is actually a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game. If you can believe that, FromSoftware has not done a console exclusive since Bloodborne. It's kind of fitting that the theme of this game is very Bloodborne-ish from like what you look at initially. So that's quite interesting. So we're going to get into everything we know about this game so far and kind of my thoughts on it. This is a very, very surprising announcement. I had no idea that they were working on another console exclusive, let alone Nintendo. Obviously, we know that they work on multiple titles at the same time. That's not surprising to anyone, but I don't think anyone was expecting a Nintendo Switch exclusive from them. So the first thing you notice immediately when looking at the game is that it's very Bloodborne inspired. You have the kind of Victorian theme of the game there. There is talks of blood in the sort of monologue of the opening, and it looks like you play potentially a vampire-ish type character. There are at least one vampire-type character you see that is being played by the player in the game, where they're sort of like pulling something out of another character while they're like biting them. So in some ways, it kind of has that Bloodborne theme to it, but things take kind of a weird turn after you see this. There's like a guy in a full metal, like, steampunk type suit. There are automatic weapons in the game. There's even like a dinosaur in the game at one point where like something just turns into like a velociraptor and starts attacking things. So it's a very quick departure from the initial kind of Bloodborne feels that the game gives you. And it gets even weirder from there. This is kind of just scratching the surface when you first look at it. And if you look, when you watch the gameplay, you can see for a second that what looks like one of the players is summoning another player in the game. It looks like there's going to be some sort of a summoning system. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but if you look on the official webpage for the game, it's currently in Japanese, so you have to kind of Google Translate it. But it essentially says that the game can be played up to 8 players, and that the battle between player and enemy unfolds. It's a PvPvE-based multiplayer action game. And that is absolutely a bizarre concept for FromSoftware. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? I mean, like, technically, the games have always been somewhat PvPvP because you had invasions in the old Souls games. Yeah, you didn't really see it as much in Elden Ring, although you could be invaded if you were summoning. But invasions have always historically been a part of those games where you were fighting against the level and then a player came in. But it seems like this game is kind of taking that up a notch where maybe you have a couple of players that are playing against you, or maybe there's I don't even know, like, I don't even know how this is all going to work, but mechanically the game looks like a Souls-like, right? When you look at the vibes of the game, you see these characters that clearly look like bosses. You see an axe one of the bosses is holding, clearly looks like an Elden Ring or Dark Souls type weapon. And the music of the game feels very Souls-like, but then to find out it's also a PvPvE 8-player game, I'm just like, what the heck? This is kind of, honestly, it's a bizarre announcement. I'm not sure the timing of this is super great in my opinion, because people are still kind of skeptical about Night Rain. Some people out there that are huge Elden Ring fans are not going to play Night Rain because it's drastically different than Elden Ring is. And there is kind of a little murmur out there, I guess you would say, in the Souls community that FromSoftware is kind of chasing a trend with that game. I wouldn't say that it's like full-blown outrage, but there is a little bit of like, I don't know about this. This is kind of weird. And then to see a game that's a PvE-VP-based game, I think it's going to raise even more eyebrows about what FromSoftware is doing in the future of their titles. And when you compound that with Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, there are a couple issues with this. So first of all, not everyone's going to be thrilled that this is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game. A lot of people are going to want to play this game. A lot of people aren't going to have a Nintendo Switch 2. This comes out in June, so nobody currently has one. But you're going to have to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, which is, I don't know, $400 or $500 or something like that, in order to even play this game, which, you know, the global economy isn't exactly in a great place. When PlayStation came out with their PS5 Pro at the pricing that was at, they had some serious backlash against that. And, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed FromSoftware fans out there that want to play this game, but just simply can't afford or are not willing to spend the money on a Nintendo Switch 2 in order to play it. The other issue that sort of compounds this is the fact that Nintendo Switch 2 games are going to be $80 for digital. That is a serious increase in money for a title. I know people are thinking, well, $70 to $80 isn't that much, but we're talking about Nintendo Switch here. Nintendo has historically been the cheaper option. Like, their system hasn't been as powerful. It's been more affordable because of that. But now they're leading the charge for the most expensive games. So that's kind of shocking. So it's not just you're buying a new console and dishing out the money for that, but then you're basically committing to pay $80 a game for the digital version on that platform moving forward. And I think that's going to rub people the wrong way. So this is a really tricky thing, right? Now, on the flip side of that, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad move by Nintendo to try and position FromSoftware in a way to give them an exclusive that could help sell them consoles, right? I am absolutely sure there are some people out there that will go buy Nintendo Switch 2 to play the next FromSoftware title. However, this seems kind of like another one of those games that is not a mainline game. Like, if you consider Night Rain not a mainline game, if you consider Armored Core not a mainline game these days, like, their bread and butter is Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, etc., Sekiro. I would say that, this is a little bit more offbeat than what they've been typically doing. I don't think this sort of game is going to move as many consoles as if, for instance, they released Bloodborne 2, or if they released, some game that was quite similar to Dark Souls or quite similar to Elden Ring, the typical fashion that we know they make their games in. So I don't know how many people are going to go buy the console to play this. I'm sure some people will be. Obviously, I will be doing it simply because I'm going to probably be making content for this game, or at least wanting to check it out to see if I want to make content for it. But, I don't know how many people in the whole broader Dark Souls Elden Ring community are going to go do that. The other thing is, we know that this game is launching in 2026. It said at the end of the trailer that that's happening. So that is still about a year away. Like, if they release it in March sometime next year, which is when I would guess they would release it, because again, the end of the Japanese fiscal year is at the end of March. So typically they try and publish their games before then to get their profits in before the end of the fiscal year, because it looks good for shareholders and yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. So it's very likely this game is about a year out. I think we'll probably hear some more about this game moving forward. We do have Summer Games Fest right around the corner. It wouldn't be crazy to think that we might see something there about it. Gamescom is not too long after that in August, and obviously Tokyo Game Show in September. There's got to be more data in, and one of those places, if not more of those places for sure. So I think we'll hear more about this game moving forward. I think, just like everyone, I want to know more about this game because it sounds strange, right? Like, Night Rain is one thing. Like, I can wrap my head around Night Rain. I played it. It's a ton of fun. It's based on Elden Ring, my favorite game of all time. But this game is a little bit different than that even, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I would really like to see, for myself how this is. I'm sure you guys would too. So what do you guys make about this FromSoftware announcement? Is it kind of bittersweet? It's a new game from them, but at the same time, it's on a platform that I don't know how many of the Souls community actually plan on getting this console. And also, the style of game is maybe a bit different than what FromSoftware has historically done. I don't know how they're going to feel about that. What do you think about it? Are you jazzed for it, or do you just want more FromSoftware that can do no wrong? Or are you starting to get a little bit more like, is this becoming a trend? Or where do you sit on it? I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below.
I give you my blood. I give you my life. Turn, O wheel, and transport him to a night of moonlight, to humanity's very dusk.
Close your eyes and contemplate now the moon, as befits the soon-to-depart.
I pray that you are able, carrier of blood.
Tears will flow for one, and one alone.